Hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have a super awesome guest. Her name is Debbie Hawkins, and she is the Campus Culture Director at Sunnyside High School in Fresno Unified, which is in Northern California. So thank you so much, Debbie, for carving out some time. You have a super busy schedule, so I just want to say thank you for making some time for us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. And so as we were kind of chatting earlier, um, could you just share some of your story? I know our listeners would love to learn more about you and your journey.
My journey in education is, maybe not the most typical. I am a first generation college student, um, born to parents who were 15 and 16 at the time. So, I don't think my story into the middle class way of life is typically is all that traditional or typical of somebody who may be in my position, which I think gives me a different story when I deal with kids. And when I can share pieces of that sort of thing with them, for some kids it really resonates and gets them to open up to me. I try and convince kids that teachers aren't like, cookie cutter people, like you know had two parents, never struggled for anything, and then just went to college and was always happy, because kids out there kind of believe that about their teachers, and it's really a false narrative. So I like to, tell my kids, I grew up in a single parent family. My mom's my closest friend, often more like my sister because we're only 16 years apart in age. And um, went into education. I'm transparent. I just wanted to coach a basketball team somewhere. Oh, so I'll teach. Sports and that sense of connection in high school was my saving grace. And I had an amazing high school basketball coach named Carol Britton Holman at Exeter High School, and just gave me such purpose. Like, I wanted to be a coach who could take a small group of girls and just really give them purpose. And I don't know, fast forward a few years later, I'm teaching English and I have little babies of my own, and coaching is not so great when you have small kids.
Hmm.
And I was out of middle school, but I was ready to leave because I only wanted to work part-time. That wasn't available. And the principal literally asked me, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know what I want to do, but I know this is what I want. I don't know what job this is. Help me out with that. I want to mentor kids, and I want to give kids a reason to want to come to school every day. Like, I want to do that. I want to mentor kids. I want to come up with things that get kids to come to school. And I don't want to teach English full time. And she's all, well, we have this thing called campus culture. It's kind of student activities. It's got a fancy title. How would you feel about that? And I'm like, does it have, a standards and a pacing guide? She's, no, not really. You kind of make that stuff up. I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. So that's kind of where my journey in student activities took me. It all comes back to my personal philosophies on education. Is, I think what it came down to, like, really, when in the beginning, I just wanted to coach. I really want to mentor kids. Sure, I'll teach them any of the standards you need me to teach them. Yes, that matters. But I really want to mentor a kid. I want to find a kid and leave them better at the end of our relationship, or somehow push them forward on their own personal timeline towards success. Mentorship was where my heart was.
I absolutely love that, Debbie. And that's so cool because you were wanting to mentor these kids and be like a life coach, and as you said, have them leave better than when you found them. So if they come in a certain way, let's say a 1 out of 10, however they're feeling, like for their social emotional learning skills, and then you want them to leave, instead of a 3, you want them to leave at a 9 or a 10. So you're really building them up as a person, helping them know that they have value, they're important, that they matter, the things that really matter. So that's huge, that what you're doing.
I always tell kids, it all of us start in different places, but we can finish wherever we choose.
Yep,
And
so true.
Giving kids tools and resources to I guess finish their stories in the direction they want to take it, rather than what was, life offered them.
Yeah,
It's a privilege.
absolutely. That's so cool. So you're doing way more than coaching basketball. I mean, you're coaching kids, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing, amazing. And what are some of the things that your school district is doing to support those kids with social emotional learning and their mental health? Have you noticed some things that are, wow, this is working, and want to share this with other districts?
I'm at a really big school. So, we have a social worker on campus and they're amazing. And we have a new person this year, but they come from Fresno Unified with a particular mindset
Hmm.
as school social workers. And I haven't interacted with any of them they're all amazing. Um, and there's some district initiatives that I can explain to you that give them some power that is like really good kid currency I can share. And then I'm at a school where we have a truly active, and I would consider like talk about a program that shines and everyone should copy. We're a full restorative practices school with a restorative practices counselor and 2 support staff, including 1 teacher who happens to be our football coach. And we are a restorative practices school. We don't look to exit anybody. We look to reconnect those relationships and points of brokenness to help people be better people, students
Wow,
and staff alike.
I love it.
So,
I love it. Love what you guys are
yeah,
doing. So it's not that someone's struggling, let's replace them. It's they're struggling, let's support them.
yeah,
Let's
like
build them up.
how can we fix this relationship, not abandon it?
Right. I love that. That's beautiful.
Because
Yeah.
it's like real relationships have conflict, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So let's take the conflict and turn it into something that is unique to the relationship instead of something we try and throw away. And
Exactly.
Sunnyside very much is that institution.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And if there's some advice that you would have for other high schools or middle schools or just districts in general, what would you, what's your, I guess, number one tip if you wanted to share something with another school that you feel is just a game changer for kids?
Game changers for kids, I think if you're going to look at like big systemic things,
Hmm.
there are some things like Fresno Unified is the 2nd or 3rd largest school district in the state of California. And I'm going to give my board and my superintendent and our organizational structure some props right now. And no matter how small or big you are, there's some things you can do like from that top down structure
Hmm.
that make things easy for people like me who sit in student activities and campus culture to do our jobs effectively and not be distracted from the important work.
Hmm.
So from our district down, like our district has 4 goals, and I work out of what's called the goal 2 office. Goal 2, every student will excel in arts, activities, and athletics. But what I'm going to tell you is the district sets aside a large set of money to not only give a teacher on special assignment me a job where I only teach 2 periods a day and then I'm released to make all the other stuff work, but I also don't have to fundraise and run around like crazy getting things like poster and paper and balloons to do the simple activities I want to do.
Right.
If I need a really quality jersey to represent my kids, I have money for that. And that is an institutional thing that Fresno Unified set out as a goal and a structure. Like I have a campus culture manager, so she's like, an activities director manager out there, a direct resource who will literally come and teach my class and
Mm.
and help me get the things I need. And it's a beautiful thing when the district you work for is massive and makes you such a priority they fund you. It really, it matters because what it does is it frees me up to sit in a group with kids and listen and talk, and then maybe direct them into some other avenues where they need more support instead of selling cookies all the time. So we could go to a CATA convention for student leadership. Those fees are paid. I don't have to sweat that. I get to go to camp every summer and I don't have to fundraise for that.
Yeah.
Those district structures really, really impact my ability to connect with students and sit in space with them in a really powerful way.
And what's cool, Debbie, is you were saying that you guys are a very large, ginormous district, but the things that you were saying, could someone at a really tiny district could do because to me, the part, help me if I'm wrong, the part that my little, antennas went up is when you said, when the district is kind of handling everything else, you can focus 100% on the kids and listen and really hear what they're saying and then redirect them into something that's going to be really healthy. So a huge district or even a small district can listen and redirect, right?
It's just giving student activities the same equal funding and
Mm-hmm.
prospects as you say math or English. You
Right,
give it level playing field.
right.
And I feel like Fresno Unified does that well. So a few years ago when I had a student who just showed up in my room every day, because my philosophy is leadership's what you do, not what office you have or what title you possess, but it's what actions you take.
Mm-hmm.
So, every door the door's open when we're working on whatever, you can come in and help too.
Yeah.
The student walks in my room and in the middle I learn a lot about his story. He's a foster kid living in temporary care, and he's got a story that's 5 miles long, but he didn't connect to anything at this school except that these people making posters and setting up for this rally seemed to want his help. So they just kind of brought him in because we take everybody, like, come on over, hang out with us. And that became a 2-year transformative relationship
Mm,
where I'm able to help him connect with our school social worker a little deeper.
good.
Um, Honestly, in the end, he didn't even graduate from Sunnyside High School. We actually sent him to one of our specialty schools, and he graduated from a place called J.E. Young, where he could take his credits a little quicker so that he could get into full-time therapy.
Awesome.
Because what he realized is when his day-to-day life wasn't a crisis, he didn't know how to feel
Mm,
and how to behave.
right.
So I was able to, I coached this kid out of graduating from my high school, but it's okay because he went where he needed to be to get them the social emotional resources that he needed
Right.
to be a successful person. And he is 2 years in at Fresno City and determined to be a social worker, because social workers should be foster kids, because only foster kids understand the foster kid story.
I think your title should be expanded. I think you're doing more, so much more. I think it needs to be campus culture director slash school counselor slash mama bear slash safe space to come in and be you. Like, you're doing so much, Debbie. It's incredible. That's so cool because you're really,
That's isn't that what teacher means?
yes. Well, it's so cool. And also you just basically answered my next question. I was going to ask, how important is supporting your students with their mental health? And you just did that with that example. Over 2 years, you were helping and guiding and nurturing and loving on the kid and encouraging him. And he went to the school that was a better fit for him and got the support that he needed. And now he's rocking and rolling. So that's amazing.
Like, he texted me last night, by the way.
Oh,
You don't
cool.
get to dispose of me that easy. Once I'm in, I'm in. Um,
Good.
we also have this thing at Sunnyside, restorative practices, and I know a lot of people talk about it. And I've heard about it throughout my educational journey, but this is my 4th year at Sunnyside. But when it's done right, it's not something you hear about. It's actually something you feel.
Mm,
Like when you come on this campus, the way adults and kids interact with each other, no, it's not always perfect, but it feels very different because kids know that their opinion also matters in the relationship.
good.
And our restorative practice team goes around campus doing what they call circle times. And I have
Hmm.
them come into leadership and do them. And circle time has become what we call leadership family time. We do it on Fridays as often as I can. And we just put the kids in a circle, and it starts out light, and you just give them a topic, and there's a little talking piece and it circles around. But it goes from light to pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then you let kids throw out things they want to talk about. So in the midst of COVID last year and a lot of the racial tension that was going on, some of the things that the kids brought up in circle, it was powerful. And those restorative practices coaches are on the call. It's, like, just building into these kids a voice and a sense of purpose. And we hear you and we see you and we're sorry you hurt. And what else can we do for you? And that mentality of, hey, you got caught, I don't know, smoking pot at school today, and your first referral is actually to Saturday school restorative practices, we don't suspend you. Like, we take care of it and put you back in class, and then we're going to deal with you on Saturday in this really powerful circle time to talk about life choices. It's just a really different thing than when you just suspend a kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because one is punishment, the other is support. I think it's beautiful what you do. It's beautiful.
Like our team here is amazing. It's fun to sit next to and get to be a part of.
Yeah, that's mind blowing. That's something really beautiful that I think if other districts embrace as well. And you guys call that the circle group. What is it called?
Well, it's restorative practices, and we call it's circle time.
Circle time.
I mean, I think different programs may have different things that they call it, but it's in circle. It's a restorative practices circle. And it has strategies and tips, but it's not complicated.
No.
My son's high school English teacher, same district.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking, by the way, a college course. So it's a Fresno City high school combined offered course. But every Friday, Mrs. Fishley at Bullard High School does circle time. And my son, who lives in my home with me, was transformed. He was lucky enough to get her for 2 years. But that act of circle literally became transformative into his life, into giving him a voice.
That's amazing.
Being able to fairly say how he feels in an environment where respect has been created and everybody's listening. To the man started his own band and writes his own music now. Like, that teacher's influence on my very middle class, happily married parents, never had too many struggles in his life child. But that circle time empowered him.
Changed his life.
In a way that I could never do as his mother. She changed his life.
That's amazing.
Mrs. Fishley from Bullard High School changed my son's life, and I'll owe a debt to her forever.
Thank you, Mrs. Fishley. Right.
And all she's doing is taking on the social emotional needs of the kids in her class, letting the kids talk about what matters in their heart, and letting them process it out loud so that they can own it and walk through it instead of wallow in it.
I love it. I love it.
Gave them space.
Yeah, I love it. And the keys that you were saying before is kids need to be in your circle time, in the restorative process. You're helping kids know that they're seen, heard, and you're giving them tons of empathy. And I'm sorry you felt that way. Oh, that's awful. That must have been hard. And now they're really feeling seen and heard and valued. And then you're giving them the tools and the strategies to get the help they need to improve.
And
it's
not perfect, by the way.
I get it.
Like, it's not perfect, but man, if we can do the right thing 7 out of 10 times, 6 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10, whatever out of 10 times,
it's a win.
We're better than 0.
Way better than 0. Now, Debbie, that's amazing. I mean, and thank you so much for being a part of this today. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And thank you for not only sharing your story, but all of these additional super powerful stories. I think this is great, and other districts can, if they're already doing it, fantastic. And if they're not, they can implement something like this, the circle time and restorative process. And I just love it. So thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
You're welcome. It's great to be here. And if anybody wants more information on any of those things, I can connect them to the right people for sure.
Amazing. How would they connect with you? What's the best way? Through Twitter or through Instagram or LinkedIn?
I am on Twitter, for sure. But honestly, email me. That's the best. It's debra.hawkins and the number 2 at FresnoUnified.org. I'm also on Twitter under Debbie Hawkins. You could find me there. But yeah, it's this job is such a privilege. And when we got taken out of the classroom, boy, did we learn how much.
Yeah.
It's fun to be back.
Well, they're blessed to have you, and we're blessed to have you on our show today. So thank you again, Debbie.
Thank you very much.